What if Obi Wan went with Anakin to save his mother and attack the clones? That's our story for today. Hope you guys enjoy, and let's get right into it. Have you always wanted to play the exciting card game Sabacc that you see in Star Wars shows, movies, and games, including the newly released Star Wars Outlaws? Well, do I have just the thing for you? HyperspaceProps.com has everything you could ever want or need, whether it's the various Sabacc decks, starter kits, the Lando cheating device for when your luck just isn't quite going on your side. There's a plethora of great options to explore for you and for your friends. I was able to get my hands on a few of these items, and let me tell you, the weight and the quality of the double gold dice, the credits, the coins, and of course, the playing set itself make it feel exactly what I've always imagined it's like playing in the Coruscant clubs, or against Lando and Han, or even in the casinos of Canto Bight. But for my prequel fans, they've also got the Coruscant-inspired deck, the Naboo deck, and now, the Kessel Sabacc deck inspired by Star Wars Outlaws, and this Kessel deck is officially available for pre-order at HyperspaceProps.com. Once again, it's hard for me to express how much the quality and the weight of these props fit exactly what I imagined it would be like to hang out and have fun in the Star Wars galaxy. And it gets even better from here. At checkout, you can use code GALAXY for an extra 10% off, and before you know it, you'll be feeling like Han Solo winning the Millennium Falcon. So check out HyperspaceProps.com for the greatest props to enjoy in a galaxy far, far away. Our story begins on Geonosis, as Obi-Wan Kenobi has just tracked the bounty hunter Jango Fett from Kamino to here. But before Obi-Wan landed, he decided to fly around the ground and found a large group of battle droid transports, ships, and factories all around. It was more than enough to make up an army, and Obi-Wan realized now just how real the Separatist threat really is. He had R4 put the ship down on a nearby ledge, then got out and decided to contact the Jedi. Unfortunately, Coruscant was too far away to send a clear signal, so instead Obi-Wan reached out to Anakin on Naboo. But Anakin's signal was no longer transmitting from Naboo, which was odd, so Obi-Wan extended the range to try and find Anakin. After a moment of searching, R4 informed Kenobi that Anakin was on Tatooine, and Obi-Wan was genuinely confused. He ordered Anakin to stay on Naboo. Obi-Wan was frustrated. How was the Council going to trust him or Anakin after this? But then something struck Obi-Wan. He remembered Coruscant, days ago, when Anakin revealed that he doesn't sleep well anymore because of dreams about his mother dying. Obi-Wan brushed it off in the moment, saying that dreams pass in time. But he saw now that Anakin simply couldn't take it anymore. He went to find his mother. And now Obi-Wan was wrestling with his own thoughts. He knew he should stay here, investigate further, but he also knew now that his Padawan could be about to do something he may live to regret. So Obi-Wan first tried contacting Anakin, and when he got no response back, the Jedi Master got into his ship right before a group of Geonosians and Droidekas could come to capture him. Obi-Wan flew away into the stars, and as soon as he emerged into Tatooine's atmosphere, he made sure to send the transmission to the Jedi Council. He made contact with Yoda and Windu, telling them that he is searching for Anakin, who's seemingly gone rogue during his mission. But on Geonosis, he just found droid factories, ships, transports, as if an army is being prepared to enter into the galaxy. Windu shook his head, disappointed in young Skywalker, but they thanked Kenobi for the report, and Windu decided he would gather a large group of Jedi to go investigate and stop this army from taking off if necessary. Obi-Wan ended the transmission, and he flew down into Tatooine, tracing Anakin's signal, landing his starship next to Padme's ship. Obi-Wan was happy that Anakin at least brought the person he was assigned to protect, and he looked out towards the small home to see Anakin and Padme hugging each other as Anakin was preparing to board a speeder. They didn't notice Obi-Wan land, and Obi-Wan hopped out of his ship, running at them as R4 rolled into Padme's ship to say hello to R2. As Anakin was boarding the speeder, he heard someone yelling his name. It was Obi-Wan. Of course it was. Anakin sighed with a touch of anger and frustration as Obi-Wan got to them, asking what was going on. And Anakin told the truth, saying his mother was captured by the Tusken Raiders a few weeks ago, and he's going to save her. Obi-Wan's face seemed to age 10 years in this very second. Anakin was jeopardizing the safety of Senator Amidala because of his own personal attachments. But Obi-Wan could see there was no stopping him. So when Anakin asked whether or not Obi-Wan was coming with, Obi-Wan sighed and got on the back of the speeder before the two of them blasted on into the sands. The journey would be long, but with Obi-Wan's help, getting directions from the locals in the area, as well as Jawas, made the trip go quicker, until Anakin and Obi-Wan eventually laid their eyes on the Tusken camp. It was quiet, with a few fires burning, some small chatter among the raiders, but otherwise it seemed they were asleep. Anakin and Obi-Wan jumped down together, and they began using the Force to try and feel for Shmi. But as they snuck through the camp, Obi-Wan tripped on a line connecting to a rope, keeping bantha meat cooking over a fire. The meat dropped and made a loud sound, alerting the Tuskens to Anakin and Obi-Wan's location. The Tuskens ran at the Jedi with their staffs ready, and Anakin ignited his lightsaber. Obi-Wan could feel his anger. His student was hungry for this fight. He was ready to slaughter the Tuskens. Obi-Wan tried to tell Anakin to stop, but he force-pushed Obi-Wan backwards, and Kenobi crashed hard into a small hut. Obi-Wan heard Anakin's blade slice through the Tuskens, and the screams were echoing in the air. But Obi-Wan turned, and he saw that the hut he crashed into was the one that Shmi was being kept in. She was groaning lightly, her wrists restrained to a pole, which Obi-Wan quickly untied before holding her up. She asked who he was, and he said he was Anakin's Jedi Master. This filled Shmi up with more life than she had in weeks, and she was able to ask where Anakin was. Is he safe? Is he alright? And Obi-Wan said that he needs her help. He's outside, fighting the Tuskens because he is angry, lost, in need of his mother. Shmi heard this, and these were perhaps the exact words she needed to hear in order to gather some strength, and Obi-Wan helped her outside of the hut. Together, they looked to Anakin as he cut a Tusken male in half, and Obi-Wan yelled his name. Anakin angrily turned, and all of his emotions suddenly faded into sadness. He didn't recognize himself, and his mother held up a hand, begging him to stop this madness. Anakin looked around. More raiders were coming, but he closed his eyes, then ran to Obi-Wan and Shmi, helping carry her to the speeder. And Obi-Wan took off, while Anakin was in the back holding his mother. They sped away until they were at a safe distance from the camp, and Anakin then got off of the speeder, giving his mother some water, along with tiny bits of food, to not overwhelm her weak body. She was still going in and out of consciousness, but seeing how badly Anakin needed her was keeping her alive. And the last thing she heard was Anakin begging her to stay with him. Many hours later, Shmi began to wake up on her bed in the Lars homestead. The air in here was flowing nicely, and she looked around to see Anakin sleeping in a chair next to her. He looked so grown up, yet he was still the same boy that left so long ago to become a Jedi. She looked from his short hair with the Padawan braid to his dark brown robes. She saw the lightsaber hanging from his belt. He looked just like the Jedi she always imagined him becoming. But she also remembered seeing him killing the Tusken Raiders, and that made him no better than them in that moment. She knew Anakin needed her, so she softly said his name, and Anakin jolted awake, rushing to her side, asking how she felt. Surprisingly, she felt good, all things considered, and she sat up to give Anakin a hug before smiling up at him, saying it's amazing to see him, thanking him for rescuing her. Klieg Lars, Shmi's husband, entered the room with tears in his eyes. He lost his leg trying to find Shmi, and now she was here, alive thanks to Anakin and Obi-Wan. Owen and Beru entered as well, very happy to see their stepmother doing better. And outside the hut, Obi-Wan and Padme were speaking to each other, with the stress of the galaxy hanging over them. They just spoke to Master Windu and Padme's security leader Panaka. Chancellor Palpatine was given emergency powers to establish an army for the Republic. And while they were here, the Jedi went to investigate the army on Geonosis. One thing led to another, and over the hours, the first battle of the Clone Wars happened. War has begun. But, at least for a few more hours, they could distract themselves from the war and just be here for Anakin and Shmi. The hours would fly by, and eventually Anakin would have to say goodbye to his mother once more. But not before they spoke alone, and she asked Anakin what happened at the camp. Anakin admitted that he lost control. He thought he lost her for good, and his anger was too much to control. Obi-Wan heard this from around a corner, and he did think it was his fault. He didn't think he prepared Anakin for emotional loss, but Shmi gave Anakin a pair of personal comlinks for the two of them to always be able to chat with. She stole them from Watto as a parting gift, and it was the least of what that slimy Toydarian owed her for all the trouble. Anakin was extremely happy for this, giving one last hug to his mother, and then entering the galaxy where the Clone Wars were waiting. The war would be brutal, yet exciting for Anakin, as he quickly went from promising but reckless Jedi Padawan to the hero of the war for the Republic. From being promoted to Jedi Knight, fighting on Cato Nemoidia, getting Ahsoka as a Padawan, quickly seeing her like a sister, fighting Ventress, Dooku, losing men that were fighting for a Republic they barely understood. It was all so heavy, and Anakin forced himself to hide a lot of emotions. But he also poured so much of his thoughts into Padme whenever they were together. They married together shortly after the events on Tatooine, and their love was explosive and perfect. But what was helping Anakin stay balanced through all of it was the communications with his mother all the way back on Tatooine. At least once per week, whether in his temple quarters, in Padme's apartment, or a Republic Venator, or at a night camp in between battles, Anakin would occasionally find time to secretly speak to his mother via hologram. Their talks always helped Anakin to calm down, and after a few weeks in the war, Shmi began to see the HoloNet headlines. They read as such: Anakin Skywalker, hero with no fear, destroys Separatist superweapon, or frees planet from Separatist occupation. And Shmi would soon give up on worrying about Anakin or trying to get him to stop fighting, and instead she would just constantly remind him of how proud she is. And she helped Anakin keep a clear mind on everything, reminding him that most citizens in the galaxy didn't want or ask for this war. So she urged him to be careful and always keep the people in mind. Anakin would keep these chats mostly private, aside from telling Padme about them. Padme and Shmi would sometimes talk as well, whenever Anakin was at the apartment, and the two of them got very close. Anakin didn't tell Palpatine, as he was worried Palpatine may mention it to the Council, and Anakin surely did not want the Council finding out. He was married to Padme, and maintained connection to his mother. He wasn't exactly following the Jedi rules. Obi Wan also secretly knew about these meetings, but he pretended not to know, because it was perhaps the only thing that made Anakin happy. Weeks would turn to months, then to years, and soon enough the war was flying by with no end in sight. Battles on Ordo Plutonia, Ryloth, Seleucami, and so on. And as the war flew by, Ahsoka and Rex would find that Anakin sometimes disappeared every couple of months, typically after battles, when the 501st was expected to have at least a few days off. And Ahsoka couldn't help herself from doing some extra snooping to soon find out that Anakin was visiting with his mother. Obi-Wan would make her promise to keep it quiet, and so she did. Shmi would help Anakin to stay calm and balanced, especially after the worst missions, like when the Council disguised Obi-Wan as Reiko Hardeen, or when Ahsoka was captured by Trandoshans. And she was there for him, especially when Ahsoka was expelled from the Order, helping Anakin to not blame himself. The war went on and on, until the final days, when Anakin found himself battling Dooku, and Palpatine began to enact his dark web, goading Anakin into killing Dooku by touching the dark side. As Anakin stared at Dooku in that moment, any thoughts about what his mother, his wife, his master, or former Padawan may have thought never entered his mind. The darkness clouded his thoughts, and he killed Dooku in cold blood. He didn't really even have time to think about all of it, as he soon had to crash land the ship and immediately get to see Padme for the first time in so many months. Their shared moment together was beautiful, and it would only get better, as Padme told Anakin she was pregnant. Truly the happiest moment of their lives. But it would not last long. For the first time since before the war, Anakin began having horrible dreams, but this time about Padme. And when Anakin awoke from these dreams, he spent a long time looking into the Coruscant traffic, promising to himself that he would save her, the same way he saved his mother. But Anakin also minded the important lessons that he learned from helping save his mother. It really wasn't him that did it, it was Obi-Wan, as he was using violence, and he found that violence was not the answer. Obi-Wan was able to guide Shmi into stopping Anakin from slaughtering the Tuskens, and Anakin took what he learned that day to heart, wondering if Obi-Wan wasn't there, would his mother have made it? So Anakin spent the night trying to remain calm, telling Padme about his nightmares, making note to talk to his mother very soon. But over the next day or so, everything flew by so quickly for Anakin. One after another, he was given a seat on the Council, then denied mastery, then had another horrible vision, learned the tragedy of Darth Plagueis, and that the dark side may give the powers to save someone from death. He was denied the mission to Utapau, then asked to spy on the Chancellor. Anakin felt like he was spiraling, as hit after hit just kept on coming, until he was alone with Palpatine, informing him that Obi-Wan has engaged General Grievous. Anakin felt like he was finally able to breathe for a bit. Obi-Wan would defeat Grievous. The war would come to an end. Everything would be alright. But then came the final hit. Palpatine revealed himself to be Darth Sidious, and only he has the power to save Padme from certain death. Anakin was spiraling once more, only this time it was much, much worse, as he flew back to the Jedi Temple. None of his thoughts made sense. He had no idea what he was going to do. All he knew was that he may need Palpatine in order to keep Padme alive. And so when Windu ordered Anakin to wait in the Council chambers, Anakin felt his world falling apart. But he waited and waited until he heard Palpatine's voice echoing in his mind, saying that only through him can Anakin learn the power to save Padme from certain death. So Anakin turned to leave, only for the comlink deep in his robe to beep as someone was trying to make contact with him. This was strange, as he and his mother agreed that Anakin will always be the one to call instead of her calling, as to avoid Anakin getting caught. But today Anakin pulled out the comlink and answered. Immediately, Shmi could tell something was extremely off with Anakin, and she said that Padme called a bit ago. She said that Anakin was in a stressful position, and Shmi was now calling to ask if he was alright. Anakin was frozen, his usual strong gaze wavering all of a sudden. He looked at the hologram of his mother, the one person who's always anchored him through this entire horrible war. And Anakin, nearly through tears, told her that he can't talk right now. The Jedi are going after Palpatine, and Anakin said that Palpatine is more than just a friend. He has the power to save Padme from dying. And Anakin described his recent nightmares, how they mirrored the ones about her, and Anakin could not let her die. Shmi asked how Palpatine could help and why the Jedi are going after him, and Anakin revealed that he is the Sith Lord behind everything, but he has the power to save her. He needs Palpatine. Shmi took a moment, making sure she heard everything correctly. It was certainly a lot to take in, but then she took a deep breath, calmly speaking to Anakin, telling him that what has always separated him from the rest of the Jedi is his heart. It can be used for such greatness, but there are those who will try to take advantage of his love and his kindness, twisting it into something much worse. She reminded Anakin of the Tusken camp, how his emotions, how the dark side clouded his vision, and she told Anakin that Palpatine is trying to take advantage of him. Anakin's eyes flickered with hesitation, as Shmi's calm, reassuring presence broke through the storm in his heart. He said he can't lose Padme, and Shmi promised Anakin that he won't. And she told Anakin that she will stay here with him until the Jedi return, as he has already done so much to protect the galaxy. Now it's time to let the Jedi finish it all off. Her words washed over him like a soothing wave, and for the first time since entering the chambers, he felt a sense of clarity. Anakin looked down, nodding slowly, and then took a seat, as Shmi spent the time reminding Anakin of great stories of his childhood, how Anakin's adventurous spirit was always getting him into trouble, and the stories served as a nice distraction, until suddenly a shift in the Force was felt around the galaxy, as if the dark shadow surrounding the Force was just cast away. Anakin felt it, and with it the nightmares seemed to disappear. It wouldn't be long until Windu re-entered the council chambers, alone. Shmi left just in time, and Anakin watched as Windu placed the lightsabers of Kit Fisto, Aegon Kolar, and Sazitin on their respective council seats, telling Anakin they did not make it. Anakin asked what happened, and Windu said he did what he had to do after seeing Sidious slay 3 Jedi Masters, then said that the Sith are dead. In a rare moment of warmth, though, Windu called for Anakin Skywalker to be promoted to Jedi Master, acknowledging his growth and dedication. It was a recognition Anakin had long desired, but now the circumstances felt much different. Anakin had proven that he was more than just the chosen one, prophesied to bring balance. He'd become a protector, a Jedi who understood the value of restraint and wisdom, and Windu, despite his initial doubts, did see the maturity in Anakin, and he knew the future of the Order was in capable hands, as he personally promoted him to the new rank, and Anakin found himself in the restricted archives very soon, until Padme was giving birth. In the days that followed, the Jedi would take control of the Senate, ensuring that the war would come to a swift end. They worked with the Senate and with the clones to dismantle the remnants of the Separatist leadership, and began the delicate process of restoring peace to the galaxy, explaining the threat of Palpatine and the Sith, with evidence from Sereno of Dooku's talks with Palpatine. In time, a new election would take place, but for now the galaxy was unified on ending this war and finding that peace. On Tatooine, Anakin would celebrate the end of the war with the people who mattered the most to him: Padme, Obi Wan, Ahsoka, and of course the twin children, Luke and Leia. The Lars family welcomed all of them as they celebrated the birth of the twins with an amazing night together. Anakin watched his children play under the twin suns, his heart full as he held Padme close, their laughter mingling with that of Ahsoka and Obi-Wan. Here, among the sand and the warmth of them all, he finally felt at peace. The war was over, and the future was bright. And folks, that is our story for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. It's one that I don't know, I kind of just decided in the end to take a traditional path. I've kind of gone, I don't want to say like overboard, but just kind of really experimental in a few videos in a row. Especially last one, you might want to check out the one right before this. A lot of fun. Or I actually don't know when this one's going up, so scratch that. Anyways, I appreciate you guys. Thank thanks for listening. Appreciate you listening to the sponsor as well. Check them out. Definitely enjoy their products. Yeah, shout out to them. And hope you guys enjoyed this video. I wanted to do it with big dialogue piece at the beginning, big emotional part at the beginning, then just kind of swiftly go through the war, kind of like just the spiraling of Anakin's thoughts in the middle, and then ending in a calmer moments that culminates with him and Shmi talking it out. So appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.